Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and today we're going to take another look at Insurgency Sandstorm, and in particular at the push game mode. And basically what this is, if you're not familiar with the game, is kind of like Insurgency's version of the rush game mode from the Battlefield franchise. So in a nutshell, basically the aim is to capture or defend a series of objectives until either the attackers run out of spawns or they destroy the last objective, which is a weapons cache. And I've got to say, because of this, there's a lot of strategy involved if you want to try and play this mode correctly. And so that's what we're going to take a look at today. So to kick off, the first thing you've got to remember is that unlike in most other shooters, the spawn system in most of Sandstorm's game modes works in waves. And basically the way that it works in push is that the attackers start off with less waves than the defenders, and the only way to get more waves is to capture objectives. So in other words, if the attacking team isn't aggressive enough, well, they'll lose because not only do they have less waves to begin with, they'll probably also be in less fortified positions. But with that being said, on the other hand, if they're too reckless, well, all the defenders will need to do is just hang back and farm some easy kills until they run out of waves that way. So how do you get around this? Well, firstly, you've got to understand that you will need to play each side very differently, and what that means is that you need to use different loadouts. So, for example, you'll probably need to prioritize spending more points on gadgets like grenades when you're attacking, rather than a ton of cool weapon attachments. Also, it's probably not the best idea to load up with long-range optics if you're attacking, because the whole idea is that you're going to get in the CQB range on the point anyway. But with that being said, it's kind of like the opposite if you're defending, because you'll definitely want to be trying to stop the attackers at longer ranges so that they don't get on the point to begin with. Now, speaking of getting on the point, well, one thing you'll hear people say in the chat or on VoIP is something like get on the point and hold the corners. And what they're basically trying to say is get into cover on the cap circle, and if it's in a building, get into a corner and look inwards, especially towards doorways. Now, this is where you want to start listening for footsteps or soldier callouts from the opposite faction, because this can be a huge indicator of someone that's about to enter a room. And here's a big thing I've learnt the hard way many times: if you are entering a building, you probably don't want to breach into rooms by vaulting through windows, because it's just too slow and it'll get you killed pretty much every single time. Just another quick tip on windows and doors. Well, if you're inside a point and there is a door nearby, if you think someone is about to come through, well, go and close it so they have to open it again. Because even the kick animation can take a while, and this is the sort of game where even a fraction of a second counts when it comes to winning a gunfight. Also, if you're defending from inside a room and you notice that a window is still intact that you might want to shoot through at some point, make sure you break it before you have to, because windows actually sponge the first few bullets in Sandstorm, and I've literally been killed by this before in situations where I actually got off the first shot and I should have won the gunfight. Now, the next push tip I want to give you guys, and probably the most important one, is don't be predictable, especially when it comes to the lanes you choose to take. And what I mean by this is if you choose to attack from one angle and you fail, well, you probably don't want to attack from the same angle again, and you'll want to change tactics and try and hit from another side in the next wave. Also, bear in mind that things like smoke grenades, as useful as they are the biggest indicator that an attack is coming, and a single one on its own will often draw a hail of enemy fire. So, in other words, as a general rule, try to coordinate smoke grenades with your other teammates, and don't be afraid to use them as decoys by throwing them down lanes that you know you aren't actually gonna take. Also, things like skylining on top of a ridge as a marksman is an obviously stupid move, especially if you're attacking, because any half-decent defending team is going to know where you'll pop up. And especially at the start of a round, you can basically be sure that even before you've got yourself into position, they're probably already watching the top of ridges, ready to take you out. The same goes for using vehicles at the start of a round, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen players just charge in with the Jeep and get instantly RPG'd. And so basically, if you do manage to find yourself in the driver's seat at the start of a round of push, be smart about it, hang back a bit, and wait for an opportunity where you can break through a little bit more easily. But finally, the last point I want to make in this video is that the last objective, which is the one that is the weapon cache, is kind of meant to be like a final last-ditch effort for the defenders. And so you'll notice as soon as the game switches over to this objective, their waves immediately drop to 0 regardless of how many they had before, which is basically a sign for the attacking team to ease up, slow down, and don't rush in because now you have the upper hand. And it's honestly crazy at this stage in a match, the amount of players I see sprinting around when they really should be hanging back and taking out the defenders one by one. On the other hand, if you are a defender, well, if it's neck and neck and the attackers only have one wave on that final flag, you still have a chance. So get on comms or in the chat and make sure your team knows to take it easy and get into cover because you're probably going to need to take out multiple enemies each. Realistically though, if you are down to the cache as the defenders, well, you're now at a significant disadvantage. And as the attackers, you'll want to keep that in the back of your mind. For example, you'll want to remember if you're attacking, you could be getting smashed all round. It could be neck and neck, but if you just push through to that cache, you'll turn the game around, or at the very least, you'll equalize it. But anyway, guys, I guess that just about wraps up this video, so make sure you let me know what you think about the push game mode in the comment section down below. And also, if you think I missed any tips, make sure you leave them down there as well. And of course, make sure you let me know what game mode you'd like to see covered in this series in the next episode. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also, don't forget, you can also find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch with me. And as always, until next time, see you later and have a good one.